My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/campaign to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Welcome back to another edition of the Disney Dish Podcast with Jim Hill. It's me, Len Testa, and this is our show for the week of Schmurz Day, December 9th, 2024. On the show today, news, surveys, and answers to your listener questions, which include the U.S. State Department, the FBI, and the 1278 Treaty of Aragon. Then in our main segment, Jim gives us the history of Sunny Eclipse at Cosmic Ray's Starlight Café. Let's get started by bringing in the man who says that besides the 5 golden rings, it's really kind of a bird-heavy holiday, isn't it? It's Mr. Jim Hill. Jim, how's it going?
Well, now let's not forget about those 8 maids a-milking, 9 ladies dancing, the 10 lords a-leaping, and 11 pipers piping, and the 12 drummers drumming. Len, that's 50 people in total. Not to mention the 13 waterfowl, 7 swans a-swimming, 6 geese a-laying, and the 8 other assorted birds. I mean, imagine.
From a maintenance perspective, though, Jim, that's a lot of birdseed.
God, imagine all of these people and all of that stuff showing up on Christmas Day. I mean, there wouldn't even be enough room left in the bedroom for all of the coats.
Yeah. I mean, just from a logistics perspective, it's problematic, right?
Oh, no, absolutely. Look, this is why I always say if you're stuck for something to get somebody for Christmas and you're literally standing there at the counter going, geese, bagpipes, and let's be honest, they're basically the same thing, okay? I say gift card. Gift card.
You know that's how bagpipes were invented.
Pretty
a Scotsman
much.
was drunk and picked up a goose, squeezed it, like to run away with it under his arm. It quacked. They're like, we might be onto something here, boys.
There we go.
All right, Jim. Let's do a quick shout out to our Patreon subscribers. Thanks to everyone who subscribes to the show over at patreon.com/Jim Hill Media, including Norin Wen, Mark Lucas, Ian Sherwood, Matt S., John McGovern, and Jonathan Kramer. Jim, this is the First Order accounting team trying to get in touch with Kylo Ren to discuss his budget, which has spiraled out of control. They've noted a dramatic increase in Star Destroyer maintenance costs and the purchase of an unusually large number of escape pods over the last 5 years, and would like to know the business purpose for these expenditures. True story. Also, happy anniversary, Rise of the Resistance, 5 years.
Oh, yes. I like that. Just the notion that the dark side, yes, Darth Vader is scary, but oh my God, the accountants. Oh, no.
Exactly. And speaking of franchises, Jim, have you been watching the HBO show, The Franchise?
I have. And what's kind of interesting, remember, HBO is owned by Warner Brothers Discovery, which, by the way, makes the DC Comics movies. So it is kind of interesting that a Warner Brothers Discovery thing is leaning so hard on the Marvel movies, but
it is. It's a Marvel parody, right? We all agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And but what's especially fascinating about it is that it showed up on the heels of Deadpool Wolverine, which a lot of people would argue, given the box office and given the reaction to that, the Marvel crisis. They had a couple of films that underperformed, and likewise too many of the limited series over on Disney Plus. But it showed up a little too late because it looks like the crisis at this point is past, and people are looking forward to the new Captain America, New World Order, I think it's called. But that said, it's still, I love how they pop the hood. They take you behind the scenes to how these movies are made, and oh dear Lord, yeah.
The writing is exquisite. The acting is super talented. It's hilarious. So for you folks who haven't seen it, definitely go watch it. This is the first season. I think there's only like 10 episodes, but it follows the filming of what, Jim, like the 16th film in the franchise, but simultaneously the 15th and 17th films are also being shot, so script rewrites in 15 affect what happens in 16. Like there's continuity holes and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But did you see the so not last week but the week before, the episode called The Bridge?
Oh yes.
Okay, so the premise is that Armenia is going to allow the film company to blow up like a Roman aqueduct bridge that's been around for a couple thousand years because the town needs the money. So they move everyone on location to do it, and stuff happens on location. But the funny part is they blow up the wrong bridge. And it's actually an older bridge that they blow up. And so they're trying to get a handle on what kind of a PR crisis they have. And the assistant to the first AD is running around going, "Oh God, it's on their currency."
There we go.
And then everyone's shuffling through their money. And then she goes at the last second, she goes, "No, not that one, the yellow one." Because the currency is different colors. My God, that one line was so brilliant.
Yeah, it's on the money.
No, not that one, the yellow one.
But at the same time, the same assistant is walking around handing wads of cash to people. You didn't see this. You didn't see this.
You didn't see this. You didn't see this. You didn't see this. Oh. And then at the end, there's a Make-A-Wish kid who's there, and he manages to have the last video recording of the wrong bridge blowing up. So the closing scene of the show is someone taking a hammer to his iPhone while the Make-A-Wish kid looks on.
No, but... I want to say they completed the full run of the show, so it's available for binging. But if you're a Marvel fan or if you're a DC fan, check it out. A lot of fun.
Really, really great show. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. I hope it comes back. Mm-hmm. All right. True. All right, folks, on to the news. The news is sponsored by TouringPlans.com. Touring Plans helps you save time and money at theme parks like Walt Disney World. Check us out at TouringPlans.com. All right, some news, Jim. First, Disney announced last week that Dinosaur's closing date at the Animal Kingdom is now sometime in 2026. And remember that Disney's already said Tropical Americas is opening in 2027, so that's really 24 months tops for the retheming to Indiana Jones if they want to stick to this schedule. Jim, any ideas here on what's driving that?
Well, in talking with folks who work in management over at Animal Kingdom, the hard reality is they could just not afford to lose this much capacity at that park.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah. So it's just the whole notion of, yes, Indy will stay open, and if you enjoyed the construction fences during the reinvention of California Adventure, welcome back to the hamster maze. Okay.
I ran the Disney Half Marathon during the construction phase, and let me tell you, that was an adventure. Yeah, but I agree, it's got to be capacity. I think Park Ops probably pushed back on this because if you think about it, really. Animal Kingdom has 5 headliner rides, right? Flight of Passage, Kilimanjaro Safaris, Kali, Everest, and Dinosaur. But Kali doesn't get popular during the colder months of the year.
Oh, no.
So now you're down to 4 headliners.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then Expedition Everest, probably averaging around an hour of downtime a day, and its last big maintenance was early 2022, so it could be due for some extended maintenance.
Absolutely.
And early in the year is better because it's less crowded. So that would leave you with 3 headliners. And then if Dinosaur closed, now you're down to 2? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Park Ops doesn't want that. My guess is they're going to wait to close Dinosaur until after the redo of It's Tough to Be a Bug, which that's what Zootopia Better Is Together.
Yeah, and actually you've nailed it, because think about it. That's literally the first attraction people encounter when they enter the park. It's just a Tree of Life's right there, and it'll be on the front of the brochure. And so, and let's also be honest here. For years now, It's Tough to Be a Bug has been, what is the phrase our friend Mr. Schul uses? Non-preferred capacity? I mean, people have...
underperforming.
There we go. I mean, it's not been something that people seek out. And that's actually the other thing that's kind of interesting. I've been hearing about the Zootopia project, Len, is that there's a feeling that A Tough to Be a Bug, in hindsight, didn't have the greatest marquee, the entrance, and that, yes, as they're definitely changing out the ride film in the center of the building. But the other big thing is creating a new marquee that will definitely catch people's eye as they arrive in the park. And it's like, come here to our new Zootopia experience. And by the way, did you notice the new Zootopia movie that was just in theaters? Hey, kids. So
that's going to be an interesting design challenge, because the marquee can't be a billboard, because then you're blocking the sculpture on the Tree of Life itself, which is kind of the centerpiece of the park. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a really, really big design problem. Well, good luck with those guys. And we should talk more as it gets closer, but the test track facade is also being redone too. So it's a good time to be in the Disney theme park entrance construction business. All right. Other bit of news, Disney's said that the Disney Lakeshore Lodge is going to open in 2027. This is the old Reflections, a Disney Lakeside Lodge building, and Disney's released some concept art there. I'm not sure, Jim, whether the Lakeshore Lodge is going to have the same footprint of like 900 rooms and villas that Reflections was intending. Have you heard anything on this?
I have to admit, I mean, again, we need to do a deeper dive on this, because if you go over the timeline of the project and the decision to effectively put this on hold during the pandemic, it's fascinating. The cranes are back over there on site, and they are chugging along. But they are being very, very close to the vest about what the mix is going to be here and what the footprint, which kind of startling.
I mean, at some point they'll have to file stuff with the state around what exactly it is they're offering. So we'll have plenty of advance notice. We did the same thing with Island Tower, which opens up in a couple of weeks. So
okay.
So we'll watch that. I do note in the show notes that I put in the concept art. It is a little bit different than Reflections was. But Jim, if I just kind of glance at this. Could you tell me that wasn't the Poly Island Tower, like the concept art? This could be Wilderness Lodge. This could be a lot of things.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you talk with the folks at the DVC, and it's an interesting pushback. So it's like, yes, it's not necessarily the heavily Disney themed resorts of the past, but this is what guests are telling us they want.
Yeah,
or that's what they're saying.
It's the right mix of relatively inexpensive or less expensive construction stuff, coupled with theming that doesn't really ever go out of style because there is no style, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you can't go out of style if you have no style, right?
There we go. That's my motto, Len. Yes.
Exactly. And now on to Jim's wardrobe choices.
Right. There we go.
All right. And then other news, Disney has given us the name of the new Villains show over at Hollywood Studios, which is Disney Villains Unfairly Ever After. I just want to thank whoever came up with that name for not putting punctuation in it. Coming summer 2025. And Disney said, Jim, that the show will be a thrilling, dark comedy where the villains get to tell their side of the story. And Jim, I have loved this idea ever since I first heard of it. And that was in the Shrek films of 2001 and 2004. So,
but by the way, though,
is it not the comedic premise?
No, it totally is. But what's interesting is this actually dates back when they were talking about doing a villain's land at the Magic Kingdom, and this is back in the 90s.
Oh, okay, all right, fair.
At one point, there was going to be Gaston's Tavern, and they were going to have an outdoor seating area, and every day at 5, the idea was that villains would show up in the outside patio with a drink and just look defeated, and and then it would build into this elaborate musical number where I had her, and it's like.
All right, so I'm unfairly criticizing the show as not being original. That idea dates to before the Shrek show.
It does, but it just
I'm wrong.
But the whole notion was that the number and the whole routine would end with, okay, there's always tomorrow. I can get her tomorrow, and they down their drink and they leave. So it's just sort of like I will be fascinated to see if this finally doubles back on that idea that next time I'll get her.
Jim, if the closing number isn't a song called "I'll Get That Princess Tomorrow,"
there we go.
we get the Lopez family on the phone. My God.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, Big person, you heard it here. Okay.
My other thing with this is, we're all theme park nerds here, right? So my big question is whether the show is going to be part of the villains canon. Right, because we all remember the Beauty and the Beast sing-along at Epcot's France Pavilion that says in the original film, basically Mrs. Potts was an unreliable narrator and things didn't really happen for the reasons that we believed they've happened for decades. Like, I think about things like this, Jim, so we'll see.
Okay.
All right. Also, Disney's said that Test Track will reopen late summer 2025. That's actually an improvement from late 2025. Also, General Motors is sponsoring it, not Chevrolet. It closed, mid-June this year, June 17th?
This is true. Okay.
All right, so late summer, let's call it September 21st, would be a 15th month refurbishment. That's actually pretty good as far as refurbishments go. That's fine.
Well, okay. And again, no pressure, because of certain thing up the street opening in May.
I actually have the 2025 schedule in the show notes where I'm like, previews, Epic Universe opens, and then Disney stuff starts.
Okay.
Also, Disney's given us the name of the new Magic Kingdom Nighttime Parade, Disney Starlight, Dream the Night Away, which will begin in summer 2025 as well. Okay. So again, there's your punctuation.
Okay.
All right. Two other bits. Jim, today, the morning that we're recording this on Thursday, the All-Star Sports Food Court has started testing an AI-powered self-checkout register in the food court. So our own Christina Harrison was on hand at Sports, started testing this camera-based system. And basically, it looks down at the stuff on your tray and tries to figure out, using image recognition, what's there, and then it charges you accordingly. I'm told by management that it's going to take a few days to work the kinks out, so maybe by Monday, time the show comes out, it should be ready for everyone.
Okay, so if you piled the flatbread on the flatbread on the flatbread...
I'm just saying, if you put one lasagna on top of another lasagna, it is still technically one lasagna.
Okay. All right.
All right, Jim. Here's my thing, though. The internal name for this project is Project Cyclops. And let me just say to everyone who names projects, do some research before you pick something because it sounds cool. Like, don't call your project the Project Torment Nexus, because then you'll have to explain to someone that's from a classic sci-fi book called For the Love of God, Please Don't Build a Torment Nexus, and which you apparently did not understand. As you know, Jim, there are three kinds of Cyclops: the Hesiodic, the immortals that gave Zeus his thunderbolt, the Homeric, who were murderers, and the wall builders, who may have also invented metalworking. So two out of the three groups of Cyclops are okay, but wow, that third group, right? It's always the middle kids, isn't it, Jim?
There we go. And I'm just going to put this out there. Colossus, the Forbin Project. I don't know. You want a robot with an eyeball, making decisions.
Let's just while we're just spitballing names here, let's just have someone on Wikipedia. I'm just saying.
Okay.
All right. Last little bit of news. Word around the ministry is that Universal might start selling Epic Universe preview tickets to annual pass holders soon. I'm not guaranteeing it. I'm just saying I bought an annual pass or renewed mine this week. So, we'll see.
All right. Duly noted.
On to surveys. Our friend Christopher sent in a Magic Kingdom survey he got over the weekend, and it's interesting for a couple of reasons. First, Chris said he visited every land in the park, but his survey only asked about 3 lands: Liberty Square, Tomorrowland, and Main Street USA. So my first question to all y'all listening is, if you get this survey in the next week, let me know if it asks about lands other than Liberty Square, Tomorrowland, or Main Street, and here's why. Chris's survey asked, how much do you agree or disagree with the statement, Liberty Square is too crowded? So, Jim, remember what happened in the year leading up to the opening of Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland, right? The park went through like a walking path widening and simplification effort. So I'm wondering here if the Magic Kingdom is trying to get ahead of that for when Cars Land and Villains Land opens. Because if you need to do pathway work, the bulldozers are already rented, right?
Yeah, that I want to say that was called Project Stardust. And
Stardust, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're actually
a name that is not offensive or historically bad, right? Project Stardust, fine, yeah.
I think you're genuinely on to something here, especially, if you look at Liberty Square.
Oh, yeah. So Liberty Square, because, if it's already crowded now, it's definitely not going to get better when construction walls pop up. Plus, Haunted Mansion, Columbia Harbor House, and Jim, not only the afternoon parade, but the new nighttime parade is all going to have to be accessible during construction. So that could be what's driving that question.
All right.
The other thing I was thinking about was, there's no way to widen Main Street, right?
No.
Probably off the table. But the arcades still exist.
It does. But at the same time, face it, when you open the Cars Road Rally and when Villains Land comes online, you're artificially changing the center of gravity in that park, at least for a decade. And so I just wonder, because think about it, we've had the arcade space, close to a decade now? More than a decade.
More than a decade, yeah.
Yeah, and how every so often, when it's a really, really, really busy day or night at the Magic Kingdom, they will open that other walkway on the one that's right up against the Jungle Cruise. And trust me, folks, you don't want to experience that. Just the between the cardboard box crushing things back there, and I don't know if it's a combination of the refuse or the smell of the Jungle Cruise. But what was the term Mr. Schul used? The pong. There's a distinct pong back there, pal.
It's an organic smell.
There we go. So
yeah, I think the big reason why Disney would be hesitant to use the arcade paths behind Main Street is there's no retail or food sold, and they would lose revenue by rerouting pedestrian traffic there. But is there a way to mitigate that? I mean, they've got a few years to think about that. So
this is true.
Lots of really interesting urban planning going on in Magic Kingdom right now, I think.
All true.
All right, our friends Eric and Lauren Hersey, who, Jim, are your co-collaborators on other podcasts, sent in a Disney survey that asks some new questions around why they didn't book a hotel after visiting the Disney World website. And I don't think we've seen these exact questions before. So one of them was, we wanted you to think about your preferences you had for the trip you didn't book. Please indicate your preference level for each trip attribute below. So one of the attributes, and again, I don't think I've ever seen this before, is specific bedding, number of beds, bed size, accommodation of party size. Specific promotional offers available, so room or package discounts, free dining, and so on. Amenities of the resort hotel, nightly room rate, location of the resort hotel near things like monorail system, specific Walt Disney World Resort Hotel. Also, Jim, there's a question at the end about how much you spent on the trip you went elsewhere instead of Disney World. And it says, how much in total did your travel party spend for that trip? Please include all expenses, such as accommodations, meals, souvenirs, attraction tickets, or other entertainment. And Jim, I feel like we're verging on Disney's survey team saying, what words and images would you use to explain to our management that the money we'd make off of a better booking site would more than cover the cost of fixing the site? Please provide your answer in the form of a PowerPoint slide.
I mean, you have to admit, I always enjoy a Disney survey that's so clearly written with a goal in mind.
Intense, yeah, exactly.
Please help us here.
I love it. Yeah. All right. Jeff Kloon sent in a survey from Disney Springs that asks these questions. Did you visit during the holiday season last year? Do you like this year's holidays offerings better? And are you going to visit us at Disney Springs next year? And Jim, we're in the middle of cuffing season, so let me translate that into dating language for you kids out there. Baby, did you date anyone before me? Do you like dating me better? I can't wait for us to spend next Christmas together. Can you? Okay, so let me just say this. Disney Springs, get up off the ground. You're a smoke show, and Jeff would be lucky to see your Christmas decorations. Have some self-confidence, Queen. Thank you to Hannah Testa for helping me with those words.
Okay. There we go.
On to listener questions. And Jim, we've had this one for a couple of weeks. I'm glad to get to it. Claudia Rossini writes in with two questions. One, do you have any details around the international program at Epcot, where people come from all over the world to work for Disney? I know how the program works, but I'm more interested in the logistics of setting something like that up. After all, everyone has to be interviewed, evaluated for their English skills, visas, and so on. How is that set up at the start? Is the U.S. government involved? So many questions. And question two is, why is Mulan a princess? She wasn't born to a royal family and didn't marry into one. Disney's official answer is some rubbish like, she's shown that she has the strength of character to be a princess, which I don't entirely buy. Is it just because of the merch money?
Okay.
All right.
To answer the second question first.
Literally what I was going to do too. Go ahead.
Okay. Because what's interesting is there's actually an exchange in Moana 2, the latest Disney film that came out, where Maui at one point says to Moana, "You're a princess." And she's like, "No, I'm not." And it's like, well, a lot of people think you are.
Jim, I believe this term is retconning, right?
There we go. Now, in fact, if you talk with the folks in charge of the Disney Princess franchise, they point to the moment in the original Mulan movie where the Emperor of China in recognition of everything that Mulan has done to save the empire, so to speak, bows down to her, and then everybody else in the royal courtyard does the same thing. So the effect, the Emperor of China recognizes her as royalty, and so that makes her a princess. But yeah, there's a lot of this. For example, Pocahontas is the daughter of the chief.
Yeah, that counts. Yeah, okay,
but it just when you're in the Disney franchise princess side of the company, it's like we got another one.
I actually have 3 alternate theories explaining this. Would you like to hear them?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay, everyone, deep breath. Here we go. All right. So I think Mulan's timeline is somewhere around the mid-5th century because the character Shan Yu is supposedly based on Attila the Hun, who lived during that time. Also, the Imperial Army and the Great Wall are in the 1998 film, and both of those existed at the time, so the timeline lines up. All right. And at least initially, starting around the 5th century BCE, the Chinese term for princess, gongzu, could refer to daughters of feudal lords and royalty. So you could be a princess without being a daughter of the emperor.
Okay.
Additionally, Chinese princesses of the time were expected to act as proxies of the state wherever they went and advance the interests of the state. I'll also point out that the president of France, an office to which women can be elected, is also a Prince of Andorra by virtue of holding office, a practice that started with the Aragon Treaty of 1278 for France's kings and emperors. And that title transferred over for the first time to the office of president, I believe, during France's Second Republic in 1848, and it's still in force today. So a woman elected president of France would also be Princess of Andorra, and that means it's possible to be a princess through popular vote, too. So, Jim, that supports your hypothesis there.
There we go.
Incidentally, Jim, you don't need to be born in France or a French territory to be eligible for the presidency of France. You just need to be a citizen of France, 18 years of age, with, and this is important for our listeners, no disqualifying criminal convictions and a bank account. So a couple of points.
Dang. Those last 2 trip me up. Okay. Dang. Okay.
All right. So a couple of points. China's rules for princesses at least didn't initially require a royal family. Mulan clearly acts in the best interests of that country, which is required of a princess. So she's over that threshold. Democratically elected princesses have been possible since France's Second Republic. Disney owns its own kingdom, literally, and can make its own rules around nobility as per France and Andorra. And Jim, I will point out that Mulan was declared a Disney princess in the year 2000 when Disney controlled the Reedy Creek Improvement District in which the Magic Kingdom sits. For all we know, the Reedy Creek Board adopted the Treaty of Aragon and elects its own princesses, which compels Disney to recognize them. And now I wonder whether the power got transferred over to the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District.
And this is why you listen to this podcast, isn't it, folks? I mean, are you going to get this in any other Disney news podcast, okay?
When I found out that the president of France is also the Prince of Andorra, I'm like, well, there's the loophole we need for the show.
There we go. Right there.
As for the World Showcase International program, it's funny, Jim, because you and I have talked about this, but the U.S. State Department had a lot of questions about exactly who was going to work in World Showcase.
Yeah.
And they even told Disney to reconsider carefully China's involvement in the project. And I'm referring here to a State Department memo dated 1978 saying... So a guy named Washburn, who was working for Disney at the time, contacted the State Department last year that the Republic of China was enthusiastic about China participating in World Showcase. And the State Department advised Disney World to reconsider carefully the effect which a deep China involvement in World Showcase might have on the People's Republic of China. So yeah, there's that. Also, the FBI had its own concerns about countries like China and, at the time, West Germany smuggling people in through Epcot's exchange program. So, yeah, there's a whole story there.
And what I find fascinating about that, Len, is remember, I mean, Nixon had gone to China in 1972. Yeah. And so here we are 6 years later after the U.S. government has been carefully eyeballing China after that. Is like, oh, God, no. It's like,
trust but verify, Jim.
There we go. Okay. Thank you. I'm right, Mr. Reagan. Okay, there we go.
All right. Dan from Tonawanda writes in with this. With the advent of Beyond Big Thunder and Villains Land, why can't or won't Disney Imagineers repair their present e-ticket rides? Haven't we had advancements in audio animatronics since 2006 that make their components lighter, more fluid, and less violent, which would allow us to repair the Yeti? Also, on one of Hollywood Studios' latest attractions, Rise of the Resistance, the laser cannons on the Star Destroyer have been turned off because the ride vehicles might bump into them. If true, that's another multi-million-dollar ride feature that's been cut, not during conception, but after being built. Are these examples evidence of failure on maintenance's behalf, Imagineering's ideas, or Disney's financial arm unwilling to give guests the full intended experience for the sake of the dollar? I mean, I think it's finance, right? The Yeti's been in B mode so long that everyone except us nerds thinks it's how it's supposed to work. And the same thing with Rise cannons. And the only thing I could say here, Dan, is that maybe years from now, working cannons is going to be our generation's Hatbox Ghost, and some as yet unborn Imagineer is going to decide to fix them for nostalgia.
I mean, the other point here, I mean, it just belabors the obvious. But look, you know, the Imagineers build these things and then hand them off to the park, and then it's up
a different budget. It's a different budget.
It's a different budget, and more to the point, the park now decides what's acceptable. And if we're talking about Yeti, you know, I mean, the hard reality here, Len, is it's even with the animatronic Yeti in B mode, it's still a wonderful, thrilling roller coaster.
Yeah.
And for 99.999% of the guests, they enjoy that experience. It's the rest of us who know what it used to be,
and what it could be.
That ultimately, again, it's the park making that call.
Yeah, I mean, the park ops budget is different, right? OpEx and CapEx are two different buckets, so I get it. I understand it. And the good thing is you know, Disney's learned its lesson from that, you know, setting aside the Rise of the Resistance cannons. Disney's largely learned its lesson there about relying so much on one AA that can't be repaired. So
Okay.
All right. Mark wrote in with more information about the Utilidors. And this was on our Thanksgiving show. He says, at Disneyland, the Tomorrowland tunnel served more purposes than y'all discussed. It ran under the Carousel of Progress with an offshoot that allowed access to the center core stage area of the show. Only way to get there because the rotating ring prevented access while the show ran.
Okay.
It also ran to the Tomorrowland Terrace stage, so the band and musical instruments could be loaded onto the stage.
Okay.
And the tunnel continued onto the Tomorrowland Terrace restaurant. If you look at an overhead view, the restaurant is part of the Circle Vision Theater. There's no loading dock or outside utility area for the restaurant, so the food supplies came in and the trash went out through the tunnel.
Yep.
Interesting.
They're correct. Mm-hmm.
And Mark says, I believe it was planned this way because in Adventureland and Frontierland, there are several landlocked restaurants like Golden Horseshoe, Stage Door Cafe, and so on, that all share the same tiny backstage area and can only be serviced while the park is closed. And that causes issues that I'm sure are less than ideal. And then Mark says the tunnel continued along the backside of the Circle Vision building to face the parade route. There is or was a door on that building near a bank of payphones. It's also the edge of the construction area for the 1967 new Tomorrowland. Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, no. I appreciate the additional info.
That's fantastic. All right, last email is from Gene McIndoe, who says, who's officially starting to lobby Disney for songs the Muppets should cover in Rock and Roller Coaster. And Gene says, I know Disney execs listen to your show. It must be absolutely obvious to have Animal playing the drum solo part of In the Air Tonight when Rock and Roller Coaster gets its Muppet redo. Please pass the word. And honest to God, Jim, I may need to hire lobbyists for this. I feel so strongly about this song list. So listeners, send in one artist and one song, and we'll start keeping count. I will start you all off. And that is the launch sequence should be Led Zeppelin's Immigrant Song with Animal screaming it.
And I just want to point out, In the Air Tonight, Phil Collins, which, by the way, I mean, Phil Collins did Tarzan and Brother Bear, so there's a Disney relationship there. We could make this happen.
It's possible. All right. Okay. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Jim gives us the scoop on everyone's favorite galactic entertainer, Sunny Eclipse. We'll be right back.
So, you want to be a marketer. It's easy. You just have to score a ton of leads and figure out a way to turn them all into customers. Plus, manage a dozen channels, write 1 million blogs, and launch 100 campaigns all at once. When that's done, simply make your socials go viral and bring in record profits. No sweat. Okay, fine.
it's a lot of sweat. But with HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools, launching benchmark-breaking campaigns is easier than ever. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
And we're back. All right, Jim, as our we just went over for our listener question, we were talking about the utilidors last week.
Yes, we were. And thanks again to Mark for sharing additional info on the Disneyland tunnel, which again, we talked about last week. That sort of cleared the path, so to speak, for the utilidors. And this particular redo of Tomorrowland at Disneyland started Labor Day in 1966 and wrapped up July of 67. Disney spent $23 million on doing this. And as Mark mentioned, there was the hidden passage that will allow people to pass under carousel to get to the stage at Tomorrowland Terrace, which of course now is known as the Galactic Grill. And by the way, Len, you and I have talked about this before. There's nothing quite like a temporary thing at a Disney park that makes money. Because
temporary, we say temporary.
There we go. Because again, they changed the name of Tomorrowland Terrace to Galactic Grill back in 2015 for the inaugural season of what is it? The season of the Force.
It's the Force, yeah, the Star Wars thing.
And evidently, the Tomorrowland Terrace sold so many more burgers as the Galactic Grill. We're now 9 years in with that temporary name. But anyway, as Mark was referring to, the stage that was hidden there at Tomorrowland Terrace, that would hydraulically rise up and down, was dressed as a decorative planter. And when it was show time, that decorative planter would rise up out of the ground, and it was considered quite dramatic back in the 1960s. That would rise up and hear our performers on stage, playing their guitars, hitting their drums, singing and dancing. So, given that Refreshment Gardens, and as we mentioned in the last show, that's what this stage was called. And that was largely because the Tomorrowland Terrace was sponsored by Coke, and their slogan back then was "The Pause That Refreshes." Well, the thinking was that that's successful. We should bring that concept to Walt Disney World.
Ooh.
But here's the thing, Len. Anyone who's been to Tomorrowland Terrace Galactic Grill out in Anaheim knows that's an outdoor restaurant. I mean, yes, you walk up to the windows, this quick service restaurant, and there is maybe a third of the seating is under an overhang, but the rest of it.
But it's still outdoor seating under an overhang, right?
It's
different. It would be different in Florida.
Well, no, that's it exactly. In Florida, because of the 1,200% humidity and the the 3 o'clock rainstorm. I mean, it had to be enclosed. It just had to be. But here's the thing. So they build it, and there's one little outdoor area that faces into the hub and has a spectacular view of the castle.
It's a good view.
It's a beautiful. But again, everything else is indoors, and they've done this. They've added the hydraulically powered stage that comes up out of the utilidors, and performers can appear on this thing. But here's the thing, Len. They're in test and adjust phase. Okay.
So this is in Cosmic Ray Starlight Cafe, indoors.
Yes.
Or whatever it was called back then, Tomorrowland Terrace.
Okay. And so this is late summer, early fall, before the actual opening of the park, and they bring in cast members and they bring in a musical group. And they try to run the restaurant. And what they find is that when you have floor-to-ceiling glass...
Oh, the noise. Oh, yeah. Okay, all right.
Literally, the people who are working at the registers trying to take orders can't hear.
You want to what?
There we go.
Wow, talk about a cacophony. Jeez.
Well,
okay,
all right. But again, they catch it during test and adjust. So what they then create is what is affectionately known today as the fishbowl. They create a second wall glassed in area. In fact, it's the lower part of the food court. In fact, around the hydraulic stage.
Is that why there's a second glass wall between that section and the cash registers?
There we go.
Is that it, really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the hard reality, if you're trying to order your half a rotisserie chicken and green beans, and remember when there used to be good food at the Tomorrow?
I remember when it had different menus in each of the bays.
Oh, yeah. It makes me crazy.
Wow, so that's why the glass is there.
There we go. Just so that the people can hear what you want to order.
Wow.
All right. So
learned something new today.
All right. So anyway, that opens October, officially opens after test and adjust, October of 1971. Largest quick service restaurant in the park at that time. And given this eatery is right off the hub, not to mention next to Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, the Mad Tea Party, and the Grand Prix Raceway, now the Tomorrowland Speedway, did land off his business. Okay. Jump ahead 22 years. And just like Walt Disney himself did with the Disneyland version of Tomorrowland in 66, and, the Imagineers, okay, it's time to update what we've got down here in Florida. But the decision is made, let's not do the world on the move thing.
Right.
They go an entirely different way. They go with the future that never was, which is a mix of H.G. Wells, Jules Verne, and this sort of Buck Rogers-y spaceport where robots and aliens from around the galaxy can meet with human explorers.
It was a great theme. It just never got... I mean, Tomorrowland's the dumping ground for ideas that don't fit anywhere else in Magic Kingdom, right? It's a great idea conceptually.
And more to the point, it was also, remember, this is 93, 94 when this is happening. And this is after Euro Disneyland is opened in 1992 and went radically over budget. So they really, I mean, Paul Osterhout, the gentleman who was writing Hurt on this project, it's like, here's your bright, shiny dime.
Yeah.
Go make a new land.
I will say this, our friend Jim Schul has created what I consider to be, and I'm not joking here, like the best single bit of tiny architecture in a Disney park, and that's the Coca-Cola Cool Wash building in Tomorrowland. I love that building. Every time I see it, I want to walk through it because of how it's done. And it is sort of a Buck Rogers spaceport thing.
Oh, totally.
Right there. He did so, totally. I'm not just saying it because, Jim's my friend, but I've always loved that building and recognized its excellent execution.
I have the same sort of love, Len, for the mechanical palm trees, especially the one that's malfunctioned.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like...
Exactly. It's a free spirit palm tree.
There we go. All right. So,
all right.
But here's the thing. So here's this backstory that's been invented for the new Tomorrowland. And so how does to the Tomorrowland Terrace fit in with this? Well, this is what brings us to Cosmic Ray's Starlight Café, which opens, by the way, Len, opens in Florida Magic Kingdom 30 years ago today. And when I say today, I say the day this podcast goes live, December 9th. So December 9th,
wow.
1994. And Cosmic Rays has an interesting backstory in and of itself. It's supposed to be the first franchise restaurant on Earth where management is based in outer space. In fact, evidently, they actually gave this line to cast members when Cosmic Rays opened up. If somebody asked for the manager, the cast member was supposed to say, well, he's off planet right now. Is there anything I can help you with? And a lot of folks didn't get that joke.
It's a shame. There should be they should name one of the janitorial closets Cosmic Ray's office and just leave it, staff only or something.
There we go.
That would be hysterical. All right.
Okay. So anyway, what made the Starlight Cafe a must-see if you were visiting the Magic Kingdom was the Starlight Room, which, again, this is the old fishbowl inside of the Tomorrowland Terrace. And so you sit down and you deliberately go into the space so you can catch, and this is a line actually off of the poster outside of the building, the Bossa Supernova and Eclipso. It's styling.
So Bossa Nova and a Calypso.
Calypso,
right.
There we go. Of Sunny Eclipse, who's seated at the Astor organ and accompanied by the they're invisible, but they're still there.
Space Angels.
The Space Angels. Now, Len, this is really something new for the Disney parks. It's a 25-minute long set featuring 8 songs in patter performed by a single animatronic figure.
Yeah. The idea is he's on stage. He's the performer. Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're ever watching the Sunny Eclipse show and you see him react to a little bit of mic feedback, that's actually the start of the show. That's the show as written by Kevin Rafferty. That begins the 25-minute long cycle with the idea that it's basically a lounge act from Reno or Vegas. So
it's beautiful.
Anyway, just recently we've talked about George Wilkins, who worked with Dave Feighton and Mike Sprout on the Country Bear Christmas Special from '84, and then the Country Bear Vacation Hoedown in '86. George also created not only the scores for those 2 seasonal overlay shows, he wrote the music for the 8 songs that Sunny Eclipse performs. Rafferty wrote the lyrics as well as the patter. And by the way, if you've ever been over to Tokyo Disneyland, Sunny Eclipse is going to look kind of familiar, especially if you've ever experienced that theme park's version of Star Tours. The Tokyo version of that simulator ride has a post-show scene where, there's this animatronic character called Captain ZZYX. He's in the baggage claim area, Len, inspecting the various crates and boxes that are now coming off of that Starspeeder 3000.
Okay.
So anyway, the Tokyo version of Star Tours opens in July of '89. And as we just explained, Paul Osterhout, the gentleman who was in charge of the feature that never was, redoing Tomorrowland to the Magic Kingdom, again, had a limited budget. And so when Kevin Rafferty came to him with this idea for Sunny Eclipse, it's like, Paul's like, it's great. I love it. We have no money.
Oh.
If you're going to do this animatronic figure, it has to be somebody we've done previously.
William Howard Taft.
Oh, man.
Yeah, like anyone would miss him from, like, you could literally just like take William Howard Taft out of Hall of Presidents, and when it comes time for his name call, just put the spotlight on another president from that era. No one would know the difference.
Hey, wait a minute. Wasn't that William Henry Harrison? Hey,
no one's keeping track.
Oh, right. That's genius. Dang. They should have done that.
I could be in project management. Go ahead.
There we go. But Kevin, because he'd actually written that portion of the Star Tours attraction for Tokyo, it's like, oh, I know what to do. In fact, to be honest, they had the figure. The big expense, Len, was creating the tux with all the sequins.
The rhinestones. It's a line item budget for rhinestones.
All right. But
stones come up rind.
There we go. But they pull the mold out of storage and they're ready to go. Now, one final note here about the Sunny Eclipse show. We talked previously about how this hydraulically driven theater in Anaheim, they hide the roof in plain sight because it's a planter. What's interesting is in Florida, Len, Sunny Eclipse is on the roof.
Oh.
All right. And in fact, if you've ever been in Cosmic Rays for one of the seasonal shows they do there, I mean, once upon a time they used to do Club Tinsel in there. Nowadays, it's mostly presented outdoors over at Stitch's Supersonic stage next to.
Well, when it's cold, they do like small dance parties. They did last year for Very Merry. I'm actually going this week, so I'll let you know.
Yeah, please go in and check it, because what they do, what's fascinating, if you're in there at the right time, you can literally, Sunny Eclipse is performing and suddenly, and there's a technician standing next to the stage who hits a button, and Sunny just goes up into that little alcove on the roof. And
really, he goes up,
and then there's a DJ on stage with all of their sound equipment.
There was definitely a DJ last year. Yeah. Okay. Wow, that is super interesting. So he goes up, not down.
Yep. He's on the roof, and the performance stage comes up under him. So it's still there from opening day of 71, just rarely used. Anyway.
Wow.
Again, just bring things closer. 30 years now, Cosmic Rays Starlight Café has been in business. Now, that said, gotta say, Missed the condiment bar. Also, not a fan of how the menu at this quick service restaurant has changed since the pandemic. And also have to say, wasn't a fan when they went to mobile ordering and they literally had a cast member at the door and would not allow you in.
Yeah, that drove me crazy too, because it would, like to your point, it's the largest restaurant in the Magic Kingdom. Like, let me just come in and sit down.
Yeah, and it's like, nope, you don't have an order, you can come in. Now, that said, though, I have to admit, I enjoyed Starlight Cafe's secret menu items, the loaded Galaxy fries and the pork belly burger that you could only get through mobile ordering.
The double sunny with cheese. Okay.
There we go.
Those were the days, Jim. Those. You know what I missed? Do you remember when they had like the rotisserie chicken and ribs? With the green beans?
Yeah, no. It was good stuff. And it was. Again, what's kind of interesting, especially on the heels of the survey that the Hershey's just shared, the notion of watching Disney focus in on details like bedding. You have to wonder if food is also being eyeballed as well, because so many of these. Now, I mean, in fact, we just had Chrissy on the show, and we actually ran out of time for her to talk about all of the food items that were presented at both Jolly Holidays and Mickey's Very Merry.
Oh, dozens, yeah.
Piled them on. So,
well, number one, it's very Instagrammable, along with Christmas lights and stuff like that. Food is also super popular on social media. So,
right, you're right. Yeah. Okay, so, but yeah, I would just like to see that this restaurant return to its former glory.
Yeah, I'd like to see the show updated. But I'm gonna go. I'm headed to Magic Kingdom today, actually. So I'm going to go look at the glass wall and point out to people that I know, like, oh, you want to hear the story of this glass wall? That's fantastic.
There we go. Right. Welcome to the fishbowl.
All right, folks. That's going to do it for the show today. Good job, Jim.
Yeah, thank you.
You can help support our show by subscribing over at patreon.com/JimHillMedia, where we're posting exclusive shows every week. Our most recent show is on Disneyland's original Rocket to the Moon and how it laid the foundation for Tomorrowland for decades. On next week's show, Jim gives us the history of Disney's Riviera Resort on its 5th anniversary. You can find more of Jim at JimHillMedia.com and more of me, Len, at TouringPlans.com. We're produced spectacularly by Eric Hersey and David Gray, who'll be the starting forwards for the Washington Generals as they take on the Harlem Globetrotters at 3 p.m. on Sunday, January 26th, 2025, at the Lander Center, that's on Venture Drive, in beautiful downtown South Haven, Mississippi. While Eric and David are doing that, please go into iTunes and rate our show and tell us what you'd like to hear next. For Jim, this is Len. We will see you on the next show.
It's really great to be back here at Cosmic Ray's Starlight Café. I really love it here on Earth. It's one of my all-time favorite planets. Hello, all you Earthlings. My name is Sunny Eclipse. So listen to me, people. I got music at my fingertips. I perform on all the planets and some rock and roll and rocket ships. So hello, all you Earthlings. The name is Sunny Eclipse.